Hello, I'm Brian Dougherty. I'm CEO of the Northwest Cultural Partnership, which is a regional organisation based here in Londonderry, which covers largely the Derry-Strabane District Council area, but we also do substantial work across Northern Ireland and in the Republic, plus we do some international work as well. And basically what we do is we use cultural expression as a positive. I suppose the Good Friday Agreement talks a lot about north, south, east, west relations, but specifically in terms of kind of the core ethos of equality, they are quite specific around cultural engagement. Under the Declaration of Support, for example, it refers to all participants recognising the importance of respect, understanding and tolerance in relation to linguistic diversity, including in Northern Ireland the Irish language, Ulster Scots, and the languages of the various ethnic communities, all of which have a huge part to play in the cultural wealth of the island of Ireland. So what we've done as an organisation here is particularly use that element of the Good Friday Agreement. Under New Decade New Approach, the specifics around the Ulster Scots language and the educational outreach is brought out even more. I think unfortunately in the last few years there has become an increasing dichotomy between, I suppose, grassroots, community-based organisations. A lot of the constituent base that we would work with, be it bandsmen, bonfire builders and others, and there's been a disconnect between civic unionism and political unionism. The stalling of the executive has certainly created a vacuum, but ironically, in some instances, that vacuum has been filled by a civic movement, which in itself has taken a leadership role. So I suppose the challenge going forward is how we re-engage. It's a common, should be common knowledge that, you know, if you're going to cement peace going forward, or if you're going to develop communities, everyone has to be around the table, everyone has to be engaged, and that is as much to do with social class as it has to do with political class. So we here at the organisation are trying to ensure that unheard voice is at the forefront of community development and the forefront of decision making as well. It's a huge frustration to me as CEO of this organisation that here we are 25 years after the Good Friday Agreement, 10 years after bands in the city here were at the forefront of Flagco and the Hearn, that we're no farther forward in terms of that respect. It's a huge frustration of mine that bands, for example, are still being demonised and still being seen, are still being used as a political tool. In many ways, mirroring how the Irish language has been politicised as well. It's always been our stance that, you know, if you're going to show respect, or if you deserve, or you're requesting respect for minority cultures, that has to be the same across the board. You know, so we as an organisation have always respected everyone's right to promote elements of Irish cultural tradition as well, be it music, dance, and of course the language, because we feel the same pressures within the work we're doing. What I'm incredibly encouraged by is the amount of, if you take away the kind of political narrative or the media narrative, what we have found quite clearly, particularly since we formed in 2016, is that there is a thirst for that respect and a thirst for work together. At this organisation here, for example, the weekend we had two bands from Dublin collaborating with two bands from Londonderry here in a wonderful concert that showed how similar organisations, or how similar music across the island is. It was called Together in Music, and it was a celebration of talent rather than anything political. We have never at any point been rejected in that element. Any time we've reached out to organisations or institutions, they've shown that respect. We kind of run by a dial here in the Northwest Cultural Partnership, which is always kind of a good gauge of where civic society is. We use the model ranging from intolerance to promotion, so that at the bottom end of the tier you have intolerance towards bandsmen, intolerance towards, for example, the Irish language. It moves to tolerance, acceptance, promotion and celebration. And if we're to be truly engaged and respectful in terms of cultural collaboration, we have to get to a point where where all elements of culture are celebrated. We almost got to that, the nearest we ever got to that was I think during UK State of Culture here in 2013 when the bandsmen were promoted and celebrated in the city here. Unfortunately, we've gone back a wee bit to that. We want to get to a point where whenever we're having parades here, for example, in Londonderry, they're promoted and celebrated by the whole community, and that's to me is a gauge of true acceptance. And until we get to that point, I don't think the principles as outlined in the Good Friday Agreement have reached their goal.